And he's going to talk about what he saw in the field. Kerry.
Jim Dolan and I, both of us are geologists. We went out in the field this morning by helicopter, and I can assure you it's the easiest way to get around the San Fernando Valley today. We made a careful search, a reconnaissance search for any superficial fracturing, any superficial rupture that might be associated with the earthquake. In San Fernando, you may recall back in '71, there was on the order of 1 meter or 2 meters, 6 feet or so, of vertical motion located along a particular fault trace. We were not able to find any such rupture this particular time. In looking at the geological maps, however, it's still not clear exactly which fault was involved, but this is in an area that the mechanism that Lucy and Kate have given us and others have given us here at the lab fits with the local geology. Behind me is a figure that we sketched up here on the board. We'd get a C- for this if we were in a structural geology class, but given the amount of time we've had to do anything, I guess I can't pick that up. Oh, here we go. The possible faults that produce the earthquake are shown in blue, roughly. They come off of...
Does that tell you that this earthquake was less severe, even though we've seen so many?
What's up ahead, and we saw that unfortunately this morning with the LAPD officer that drove over the 14 freeway.
Well, but that was it was at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was still dark, and that was a tragic accident. But you know, you got to wonder what this person was thinking.
Well, he's going to have a hard time explaining that to the boss, that's for sure. And he is one angry CHP officer because he got out of there and was motioning to someone as if, I thought you said this thing was level. My goodness. Well, they've done considerable damage to that car, and the officer's now walking back to wherever it was he came from. But
good grief.
I don't mean to make light of it, but this guy goofed up. He doesn't feel very good right now. And
big time.
It's just terrible. Listen, let me zoom in here. There are a number of other units now responding. They responded code 3 out here, worried about their fellow officer. Fortunately, he's okay.
Yeah, he's unhurt.
I don't know how he's going to explain this one.
Oh, my God.
But listen, why don't we go to the right, and I want to show you, you know, a lot of people were against Martin Luther King Day, but I think it saved lives, and I'm going to show you exactly why. We normally, this hospital here is Kaiser Cadillac in West Los Angeles. It is mobbed, and I want to show you something. Take a look at this parking structure. This, I think, was a 5-story parking structure that's now a 2-story parking structure, and it collapsed. Usually there'd be literally hundreds and hundreds of cars inside the structure, and maybe at any given time 50, 60 people. Fortunately, nobody was there, nobody injured, and I think that it's just phenomenal. It's Monday. It had it happen a few hours later, or perhaps if it hadn't been Martin Luther King's birthday, we would see a real problem. Now we swing out wider to the Santa Monica Freeway, and this freeway, you know, I was up there in San Francisco. It took over a year to rebuild this kind of damage, and we're going to see these arteries, you know, Venice Boulevard and Cadillac and some of these side streets, David, and they're just going to be mobbed, and people are going to, you know, how many people use this freeway. Here's another rift right here that completely collapsed. This was pretty bad as well. Now we understand that there was out here earlier, there was a truck driver in a small pickup truck that ran into that wall. Fortunately, he sustained only minor injuries in the incident, and he walked away. So he was about as fortunate as that chippy we just saw. I'll go to a wider picture, and there you can see the Kaiser Permanente. Now, what's really the irony of this earthquake, the unusual sight from Chopper 2, is that life goes on. Here we have this freeway closed off, but the hospital's operating, the gas stations are operating, the restaurants are back in business, the powers are turned to this area, and it's like every day in Los Angeles. Like, the only difference is it's not as busy. So that's one of the more startling differences in West Los Angeles as opposed to the Valley, where we, early this morning after I cut the helicopter out of the hangar, we were able to get airborne, and it was very surreal. I counted just over a dozen or so fires burning out of control, no fire department units on scene. When we started getting a little bit of light, I was actually using my radio to report to the Los Angeles Police Department buildings and homes that had collapsed that they had not found yet up there off Mulholland and off of some other areas. And one of the sad things is one home that we focused in on We saw people waving for help. We focused in on that particular home. The people inside perished in the earthquake when their home, their foundation was lost and they slid down the hill. So it's been a horrible day. But things seem to be coming back and life seems to be returning back to normal just hours after that 6.6 earthquake, Chris.
Well, it has been a horrible day. You're absolutely right. And once again, I just want to emphasize we're not making light of it. You know, sometimes you laugh as just a reaction. We've been so tense and so screwed tight all day long that, you know, I feel awful for the CHP officer, and I'm sure he feels 10 times worse than I do right now for what had just happened.
What we were looking at there a couple minutes ago was this CHP officer in this black and white unit. There he is. Now he's decided
looks like he's testing the roadway or something.
Yeah, he's decided to go along this freeway section, and he barely stopped. I mean, he didn't even, I guess he didn't look or something, or he didn't realize it was that much of a drop, and this is what happened to him. He appears to be uninjured. He might have gotten a bump on the head or something, but he got out and was apparently not pleased with what he had done and very angry. You know, we're being joined by Jackie Goldberg, City Councilwoman from the 13th Council District here in the Hollywood area. You know, you were saying, and you were looking at some of this devastation that looked like a brand new parking structure that collapsed.
Yeah.
What's going on with the earthquake safety standards in this city?
I don't know, but I think we need to look at them. The older buildings in the Hollywood area, which my staff and I have been out working with the residents of, at least you'd say, well,
no matter what the plan is, I don't think the city is going to be able to move that fast anyway, and you're going to need to evaluate what the plan is once you put it in place. Would you ask employers not to
Certainly, I know that that's being discussed in the mayor's task force and emergency task force. Personally, if I had my druthers, I would certainly want to see as many businesses remain closed tomorrow as are not taking care of public safety, public health, or food or essential services, because frankly it's not just here. We have unpassable streets because of debris in all sorts of neighborhoods. All of the people in the Palmdale, Santa Clarita Valley, they're not going to come into work tomorrow. There are lots of areas. There are lots of areas that are not just freeways. I would love to see lots of employers notify stations that they're closed a day or two while the city assesses what we can do to make some real serious plans, logistical plans on how to move traffic through the basin.
And we're going to still see perhaps months and months of freeway work, freeway repair that's going to go on. It's just a monumental task. Are you worried that we're not going to get federal help in time, fast enough to get this stuff started?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I have to say that.
Sit there for a half an hour.
You saw Harvey Levin there peeking into the picture. Let's go back out to Harvey, who's in Reseda right now. You're standing in front of looks like a window, a building with no glass.
Yeah, it is indeed hard to tell what it is, isn't it, Chris? We are at Reseda Boulevard and Sherman Way, and I am telling you, driving through the San Fernando Valley has really been really a sad, terrible experience because so many businesses have been hit hard by this earthquake. We've seen every other building, it seems, has had windows knocked out. But take a look at this furniture store. Marco, if you pan up, they call this the grand opening. This is an unenviable grand opening for anybody. You can see that this furniture store has sustained a lot of damage, and the owner of the store, Ty, has been kind enough to take a moment out to join me. First of all, we're very sorry about this. Can you tell us how much damage you've sustained?
Maybe more than $10,000.
Did you have earthquake insurance?
No.
And that's a problem for a small business, isn't it? Because you're just starting up and all of a sudden you have a big cost that you never expected, huh?
Right.
So what are you going to do?
I don't know what to do.
That's a very sad situation. We're very sorry. Good luck to you, sir. Let me show you something else, Chris and Tricia. The only way we could tell what kind of business the next one is by the name on the awning. It's some kind of an upholstery shop, and it is completely trashed. We're going to walk you around here and just take a look at what happened to this store. This shows the impact of the earthquake in one simple picture. Just take a look at this. And this gentleman joining me right now, you were going to work here today. You came to work, and
supposed to be. I come today, but I can work like that. You don't have nothing.
You came to work and you saw this.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with the work.
Did you work here full time?
Yeah, I'm working here full time.
And have you had a chance to talk to the owner?
I don't see the guy in the morning. Maybe the guy have a problem in the house because he had big house and all the house around heavy rocks, you know. I don't know what happened with him.
Boy.
You know?
See, you know, this is just another example of the rippling effect of an earthquake. It affects so many people in so many different ways. Obviously, it affects homeowners, families, it affects business people, it affects employees who don't have a place to come to work now. There is a lot of damage in the San Fernando Valley. I spoke with a DWP worker who told me that he's working on getting 2 power poles off a furniture store about a half a block up. So the amount of damage and the number of buildings damaged is something that I have not seen before. And I have been in Los Angeles for many, many years. And this is just something I am certainly not used to seeing. It almost amazes me that this was a 6.6 earthquake, given what I've seen today. It just felt and it seemed even worse than that. It's really amazing to see.
And you know, Harvey, you talk about structural damage, but you know, the gentleman that you were interviewing there is so indicative of so many other Southern Californians, because in terms of infrastructure, people who have to go to work, who obviously need to make a living to support their families, a lot of those people are going to be temporarily out of work. I mean, there is no work, there is no place for these people to go to even make money. And
Tricia, in this economy, temporarily out of work is a big, big deal, because people don't have a lot of resources to draw from because of the way the economy has been for so long. And if you're out of work for a month, it could really have an enormous impact on your life. So a lot of people are going to be affected by this.
Now, Harvey, let me ask you, we had heard reports earlier in the day, in fact, it was the mayor who said there had been some looting in the San Fernando Valley. I look at that store behind you, for instance, with all the glass gone and just the owner standing outside. I don't see any law enforcement nearby. Could that potentially be a problem there, and should law enforcement be a greater presence there?
Well, I've been kind of looking as we went up and down this street, and a lot of business people were hammering wood in front of the storefronts where the glass used to be, taking their own precautions. I have not seen any looting, Chris, and frankly, I saw some buildings where there was a potential, but, you know, I think people are being decent, and we've talked about this a lot, and, you know, let's just hope. Law enforcement cannot be everywhere, and they're doing the best they can, and the store owners are here protecting their own property. But I have seen a lot of decent people. I've seen people come by and offer help to others. And let's just hope that that kind of attitude prevails right now, because it's really needed in the city. This is, you know, this is the difference between living in an area and living in a community. And hopefully people will continue to have this great sense of community here. Fortunately, I have seen no looting.
This is Sylmar earlier in the day. Huge gas-fed fires, and this was typical throughout the area. This is the mobile home park that went up. And there were lots of fires, and if you were up before dawn, as most everyone in Southern California was, and you were up high enough that you could look out anywhere over the basin or into the valley, you saw some pretty serious fires. There were those 2, and a couple of them in Santa Monica, that apartment fire, this fire, several others around, and they burned ferociously, fed by natural gas. And in the case of the trailer parks, probably some propane that was bottled. Remember, we saw that during the firestorms. Same thing. And this,
we're here at another mobile home park.
Still in Sylmar, the mobile home park.
Boy, it looks pretty bad.
These images so reminiscent of the firestorms we had. You don't associate this without the earthquake. But here you go.
There's
now look at Northridge.
This apartment complex, a very large 3-story apartment complex in Northridge, which collapsed. Part of it collapsed. Earlier this morning, they were frantically searching for people. 14 people have been confirmed dead here so far, out of a total death toll in Southern California of about 24 people. Now 14 of them were in this apartment on the first floor, probably a lot of them. When the earthquake struck, they had no time to do anything because this entire building just collapsed in on itself. And this is one of the residents earlier this morning, and she was looking at what was left of her apartment. She was lucky because she got out alive and she had her teddy bear. And we did see firefighters bringing out bodies earlier today, people who did not make it, some who did.